Michigan Snow Forecast Gold Standard here, spitting facts and sidestepping the propaganda. As you've seen this chart spread everywhere on social media, 8 major hurricane hits in 7 years along the Gulf Coast, stretching from Texas to Florida. But what they're not telling you is this comes after a record drought for not having a major hurricane strike on the Gulf Coast or anywhere in the United States. Let's go to the Wayback History machine, looking at the top right, Cat 3 or higher in purple. In a 4-year span, you had 4 major hurricanes hit within 200 miles in the same region of South and Southeastern Florida, 1945, 1950, 1949, and 1947, which is very devastating and is way more impressive than 7 hurricanes, major hurricanes hitting on the Gulf Coast, the whole Gulf Coast region in 7 years. You had 4 of them in 4 years in the same area of Florida, surrounded by a 1926 major hurricane, a 1935 major hurricane, and a 1928 major hurricane. And this chart shows the other ones in the same area of Florida: 1944, 1948, 1950, 1945, 1945, 1947. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hurricane hits in Florida within a span of 6 years, and 4 of them were major hurricanes. Looking at the data and looking at the facts, have U.S. landfalling major hurricanes been happening more frequent because of climate change, because of fossil fuel use, or is it a lot of propaganda and a lot of misinformation from people that don't really understand the facts? And the U.S. number of U.S. landfall major hurricanes, Cat 3 or higher by decade, we're having a significant decline from between 8 and 10 landfalling major hurricanes per decade in the 1930s through the 1950s, down in recent decades to about 2.5 major hurricane strikes per 10 years, on a steep, continuous trend to the downside. Looking at the data and looking at the facts, you can understand what's actually happening. It's all been worse before, and it all can be worse in the future, but it's happened in the past. It will continue to happen into the future, and it used to happen at a much, much higher rate, almost 2, 4, 6, almost 4.5 times more frequent per decade did major hurricanes strike in the 1930s through the 1950s than the last 2 current decades.